Developed by Reality Pump Studios and published by Topware Interactive, Raven's Cry was released worldwide on PC in January 2015. The game is expected to release on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 supposedly around September 2015, and while an Xbox 360 version had been planned, it appears to have been cancelled. The game was also originally being developed by Finnish company Octane Games, but funny enough, after many delays in finishing the game, development was handed over to Reality Pump. In this game, you play as Christopher Raven, a man out for vengeance after losing his left hand and watching his family get killed by pirates as a child. In an ironic twist, Christopher himself becomes a pirate and hopes to take his revenge on those pirates that ruined his life. In place of his left hand, he wields a hook, as well as having a raven companion, which I think is pretty fitting given his surname. The game has you sailing around the Caribbean, fending off ships from the three naval superpowers in that area, England, France and Spain, as well as hostile pirates on the high seas. At port there's a number of activities to do, and the game has you visiting a bunch of them as Christopher gathers clues and information as to where he can find the people responsible for murdering his family. So let's hoist the sails and begin with the good. The skill tree I thought was pretty interesting. Christopher gains experience for killing enemies and completing quests, and as he levels up he gains skill points which he can invest in different abilities. Some of them will benefit him in a fight, while others might benefit him while he's sailing the ship. Christopher starts off with a special attack that he can activate once the fear meter fills up. This can be obtained by staying in combat and killing enemies, and once it's full, he can activate the skill to instantly kill an enemy. Other skills involve him using his hook to hurt enemies, or his raven to distract and eventually attack them, leaving them open to getting your sword, or a hook to the face, or a boot to knock the unfortunate enemy over, making their day worse when you stick your sword into them while they're on the ground. I'm quite fond of the game's economy section. During your travels you can upgrade your ship and purchase items to make your journey on land or sea a little bit safer. Certain ports sell and buy goods for an increased or decreased price, and so to make a bit of extra money you can buy goods at a low cost from one port and then sell them at another where it's in demand for profit. Side quests are also a great way to make money, and there's certainly a number of them throughout the game, ranging from killing people to ambushing ships so that you can steal their cargo to simple delivery jobs. On top of that, there were a couple of islands I could explore full of natives and things I could loot. This helped me quite early in the game and I thoroughly enjoyed exploring them. Alternatively, if you want to try your luck, you can also gamble in the taverns to try and make your fortune. With all the stuff that you need to do in the game, money, or realis in this game, is a very important part of it, and Christopher's reluctance to help people without some sort of monetary reward certainly justifies it. Cargo management in the game I thought was really well done. While you can upgrade your ship to make it stronger, upgrading comes at the cost of cargo space. Ships that you can buy throughout the game gradually get bigger and come with bigger cargo holds, but the strategy of dividing your cargo between ship upgrades, cannonballs, spare boards and sails to repair your ship with, food, and goods to sell adds a level of inventory management to the game. Run out of cannonballs and you won't be able to fire at the other ships. Run out of food and your crew could get demoralized, disgruntled, and eventually rebellious. Thankfully I kept my crew well fed and managed my cargo hold well enough so that wasn't a big problem for me. Speaking of problems, I ran into a whole bunch of them in the bad. Despite liking the skills in the game, I found the combat to be awful. The formula is easy enough: block your opponent, hit him a couple of times, then repeat. It's heavily based off fencing. Now throw an enemy hitting you from behind at any given moment to break your momentum and kill you. It also doesn't help that blocking can also be unresponsive at times, and that the AI itself ranges from being brain dead to destroying you in seconds because the ranged enemies decided to do their jobs properly. This was quite evident as I was exploring one of the native islands, and after dealing with groups of brain dead natives, I decided to try and attack another group, just to be met with clubs, arrows and blowpipe darts. Another example is quite early in the game when Christopher fights off some British soldiers. I found myself having to redo that section several times since there were constantly several enemies on me at a time, or blocking was being unresponsive. Later on in the game there is a dream sequence which had me frustrated to no end, as Christopher cannot use items to heal himself until later on in said sequence, and you are forced to walk around with your weapon sheathed in order to recover health. If you died, well, too bad. If you've been relying on autosaves, the autosave was most likely when the dream started. So enjoy playing through it from the start again and again, unless you've been manually saving in between the fights. Voice acting in the game I thought was very iffy. Christopher's voice feels inconsistent in certain scenes, and in other scenes his voice isn't even present altogether, despite other characters talking and being voiced in said scene. Here's an example of both of these issues in game.
Calm down, Marcus. You know I don't trust anyone. There's no way I'm going to let this slime bag slip away without paying me. So lead the way.
Yeah.
Calm down, friend. I just need her for a minute. She'll be back on your lap in no time. Have a drink on me.
Go ahead, but that's still chicken feed, Chris. The only way to make enough money to buy a new ship is with a ship. See the problem there?
We'll figure something out, Marcus.
I'm not sure if those scenes were supposed to be silent, or an issue with the game was causing it not to play, but it certainly irritates me, although not so much as this next issue. The next issue with the game is that I can't finish it. It's not because the game is too difficult, or that I'm no good at the game, it's because the game is bugged and it's stopping me from progressing further. In Chapter 4 you're required to do jobs for a man named Avery. One of those jobs was to sink a particular ship and report back to him. However, once I sank the ship, the quest log tells me to tell Avery the good news. However, I can't. You arrive at port and you can see Avery easy enough, but when you try to talk to him he vacantly stares at you and does nothing. This pretty much leaves me stuck in the game with no more main story objectives, and while I have queried on the Steam discussions about this problem, a user kindly suggested I send my save file to the developers so that they can look into the issue. Problem is though, I have no idea where those save files are, and even if I did know and I sent the files to the developers, it's not something that I should be doing in order to complete the game. The last patch was back in February, and it appears I'm not the only person who has had this issue either. The game can also lock you out of the main quest, and the perfect example is actually the quest before you go off to sink the ship. You meet up with your target in a house overlooking a plantation. If you harass any of the guards around said plantation, they will turn hostile and attack you. Talk to the guard outside the house, and you'll have a conversation where you'll be denied entry. At this point, another guard will approach you and take you inside. But if you piss off the guards at the plantation, they will attack and possibly kill the guard that will lead you inside while you're being told you can't go inside. With no guard to take you inside the house, there's no prompt to enter it, and you'll be stuck on Chapter 4 with no way of entering the house to progress the game, and a bunch of pissed off guards wanting to kill you. Funny enough, in the same port, there's characters on the docks that you can't kill, even if you draw your sword or fire your pistols at them. So why couldn't the developers make the important people essential characters and thus immortal, instead of giving that to NPCs on the dock? This problem also ties into the next part of the review. The Ugly, where I discuss graphics, visual presentation, technical aspects, and the game's music. I think this short montage will sum up my thoughts about the visual presentation. If you haven't guessed at this point, the game has a large number of bugs, and while a lot of them are amusing, at least to me, they are amusing for all the wrong reasons, as it shows how much work is needed to truly polish the game. In regards to music, while I've yet to hear a sea shanty on the ocean, I do like the music you hear in the taverns, and if you have the digital deluxe version on Steam, you'll be able to listen to those tracks without the tavern banter. The best thing this game has to offer though is its setting. The atmosphere of the time period impressed me. There was quite a bit of attention to detail whether you're in one of the ports, or even in one of the native villages. Unfortunately, it was upset by random frame rate dips and spikes, bringing some areas down to 15 to 20 frames a second. Other than that, I really liked the world that they've made in this game, and I felt that it really captured the vibe of the time period. So with that, I'd like to give my final thoughts on the game. Raven's Cry feels to me like it's an unfinished game. It does have the potential to be an enjoyable game, but it has quite a number of hurdles to overcome before it gets anywhere near that point. The bug which stopped me from progressing the story ruined a lot for me, and I really hope that these issues get fixed because I sorta want to know how the rest of the story goes. It isn't something I'd pay $54.99 US for, or in my case $65.99 New Zealand dollars, but I did anyway. Once these issues get addressed, I can probably look at the game in a much more positive light, but right now I'm quite disappointed that the game I bought is a game that I can't finish because of factors I have no control over. So with that, it's time for the rating. I would give Raven's Cry scurvy out of 10. Without these bug fixes, which is like vitamin C to scurvy, it's just going to get worse. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review.